You shot a 72 at your local sporting clays course last month. You pulled out your old scorecards over the weekend, the ones from 2020. 71, 73, 70. The same numbers, over and over, like a clock that stopped ticking. You have not gotten worse, but you have not gotten better either. For 5 years, maybe longer, you have watched videos. You have bought chokes. You have taken a lesson or two. You have put shells through the gun. And your scorecard looks exactly the way it did half a decade ago. The same birds breaking. The same birds sailing. The same number at the bottom of the card that you do not even need to add up anymore because you already know what it is going to say. Here is what nobody tells you about a 5-year plateau. It is not a skill problem. It is a misdiagnosis problem. You have been working on the wrong things, and the things you actually need to fix are invisible to you. In this video, I will show you the 4 reasons your score has not moved since 2020, why most of them hide from the shooter, and how to break through with a system that actually moves the needle. Before starting, please subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. Reason 1. You are practicing, not training. Most shooters think practice and training are the same thing. They are not, and confusing the two is the most common reason scorecards freeze. Practice is putting shells through the gun. You show up. You shoot a round. You chat with your squad. You shoot another round. You go home. You did the thing. You reinforced whatever habits you already had, good and bad. Practice maintains. It does not improve. Training has a target, a specific weakness identified before the first shell is loaded, a plan for how to work on that weakness, a way to measure whether the session moved the needle. Training is uncomfortable because it forces you to look at the part of your game you would rather ignore. The shooter stuck at 72 for 5 years has practiced for 5 years. They have not trained for a single session. Here is the test. When you walk onto the course, can you answer one question? What am I working on today? Not, what am I shooting today? What specific skill? What specific bird? What specific flaw are you targeting? If the answer is, I'm just going to shoot, you're practicing. And practice will give you the same scorecard next year that it gave you this year. Drill. The one thing session. Before your next round, pick exactly one thing. Not shoot better. One thing. I am going to keep my head locked on the comb through every shot. Or, I am going to keep both eyes open on every crosser. Or, I am going to call for the bird half a second slower than I normally do. One thing. The rest of the round, the score, the other birds, the clubhouse banter, is irrelevant. You're there to install one change. Score the session on whether you did the one thing, not on how many clays you broke. Do this for 10 sessions, and you have trained more in 10 rounds than you practiced in 5 years. Reason 2. Your feedback loop is blind. Golfers have launch monitors. Tennis players have video replay. Cyclists have power meters. Elite performers in nearly every sport train with data. Objective, external, undeniable data that tells them what actually happened. Most clay shooters train with feelings. That felt good. That felt behind. That felt right. Feelings lie, especially after 50. As proprioception, your body's sense of where it is in space, slowly degrades. The gap between what you felt and what you did widens. You felt the mount was solid. It was not. You felt the lead was right. It was behind. You felt the head stayed down. It lifted a quarter inch, but you have no external record, so you never discover the error. You just keep practicing it. This is the invisible ceiling. You cannot fix what you cannot see. And you cannot see your own mount, your own swing, or your own eye movement from behind the gun. Drill. The Phone Pro. Prop your phone against your range bag and film 10 mounts from the side. Not 10 shots. 10 mounts. Watch the footage before you leave the parking lot. Look for one thing. Does the head move after the mount, before the trigger pull? Most shooters are shocked by what the phone shows them that they never felt happening. Do this once a month. The phone does not care about your feelings. The phone shows you the truth. If you can afford one, a shot cam removes all doubt. The crosshair shows exactly where the barrel was relative to the bird at the moment of the shot. Most plateaued shooters discover they are consistently behind on the same presentations, and they had no idea because it felt correct. Reason 3. The fundamentals age stopped covering. When you were 35, your body was a shock absorber for sloppy fundamentals. Head lifted slightly on the mount? Your younger, more flexible neck compensated with a subtle dip before the shot. Eyes flicked to the bead for confirmation? Your faster visual accommodation snapped focus back to the clay before the gun stopped moving. You broke birds with imperfect fundamentals because your body was fast enough to cover the gaps. The errors were real. They were just invisible to you and to your scorecard. After 50, those compensations vanish. The neck is stiffer. The lens in your eye is less flexible. Visual accommodation, the ability to shift focus from near to far, slows measurably. A clay at 40 miles per hour covers roughly 5 feet in 80 milliseconds. That is the difference between the bead check that worked at 35 and the bead check that costs you the bird at 55. The fundamentals did not change. Your body's ability to hide them did. This is why shooters who were consistent at 40 cannot find their rhythm at 55. They are shooting with the same technique they always used, but the technique now has consequences it never had before. Drill. The eyes closed mount. Mount the gun with your eyes closed 10 times. Open your eyes after each mount. Is the bead centered and the rib flat? Without any adjustment? If you have to tilt your head, crane your neck, or search for the sight picture after opening your eyes, your mount is not anchored to your face. It is wandering, and a wandering mount means a different point of impact on every shot. This drill costs nothing and takes 5 minutes. Do it before every range session. Reason 4. Your mental script has not changed in 5 years. This is the one that separates the stuck from the breakthrough. Walk onto stand 4. The crosser you missed last week launches from the left. Before you have even called pull, your brain has already run the tape. This is the bird I miss. That thought, silent, automatic, barely conscious, tightens your shoulders. It shortens your breath. It pulls your focus from the target to the outcome before the bird has even left the trap. You shoot the bird the way your brain expected you to shoot it. Behind. The tape plays again. The belief strengthens. And the scorecard stays frozen. Not because you cannot break the bird, but because your brain has already decided you will not. This is not mysticism. Motor performance degrades measurably under anticipatory anxiety. When your brain predicts a miss, it activates a subtle stress response. Elevated heart rate, increased muscle tension, narrowed attention. All 3 of those things make a miss more likely. The prediction creates the outcome. Drill. The reset breath. On the stand, before you call pull, take 1 slow breath, in through the nose, out through the mouth. On the exhale, say 1 word silently to yourself. Smooth. Not don't miss. Not get this one. Not here we go. Just smooth. This single word cue replaces the prediction tape with a process instruction. The brain shifts from outcome to action. The shoulders drop. The breath steadies. The shot happens. Do this on every bird for 1 full round. You will break birds you have missed for years, not because your technique changed, but because your brain finally got out of the way. Your scorecard has not moved in 5 years because you have been doing the same thing for 5 years. Practicing instead of training, feeling instead of measuring, covering instead of fixing, and running the same mental tape on repeat. Which of these 4 reasons do you think is costing you the most birds? Drop a comment. I read everyone. If this helped you, hit like and subscribe. Train with purpose. Film your mounts. Breathe before the bird. And I will see you in the next one.